job in the private sector as well. There's a whole lot of ways to serve. You can serve in politics and you can do great things. I've certainly enjoyed my time tremendously. It is a great opportunity to do good, and I encourage you to do that. But if you don't want to do that, get involved in your community. There's a whole host of ways that you can get involved and better your community in the private sector through foundations like Linda does, and through boards and through commissions and through appointments. And that is how I got started. I was not looking at a career in public life, and I was tapped by Governor Keating, who needed an academic from a non-state paid institution to chair a commission. And a friend of mine had been his chief of staff and just made a phone call. One thing led to another, and I was given the opportunity to serve as chairman of the Legislative Compensation Board. From that, I went on to get to meet people, and I met some representatives and some senators, and my representative, Ray Vaughn, who's now the county commissioner in Oklahoma County, was termed out, and someone encouraged me to run for his seat. And the doors that were open to me through my volunteer service as chairman of the Legislative Compensation Board really helped me get elected, because it put me in with the people that could help me in the campaign. I was in D.C. not long ago, and I had some time to kill before my meeting, and so I thought I would just walk around and take a look around, and I saw Senator Edward Kennedy's office. This is before he passed, and I thought, wow, that's a neat office to walk into, so I did. And there was a young man there that was sitting at the reception desk, and so I walked in, I introduced myself to him, and I said, "How did you get here? How did you get here?" I was just curious, it was just a question that I wanted to ask him. And he was young, he was probably 25, and he said, "Well, this isn't really my job, it's lunchtime, and so the receptionist isn't here. I do X, Y, and Z for the senator, and I got here because I volunteered on his campaign. And when I volunteered, I worked really hard, and I made an impression on the senator, and he asked me to come and volunteer in his office in Washington. And I did volunteer in his office in Washington, and then I made an impression because I worked really hard, and then I got a paid position." And so he talked to me how his volunteering in a campaign brought him to D.C. He was very highly qualified. I think he was a graduate from an Ivy League school, and he volunteered for his first few positions before he actually got a paid position with Senator Kennedy. He then took me into his office and showed me around to Senator Kennedy's office. He wasn't there, and so it was pretty neat for me. I got to see the line of the Senate's office, and I saw the pictures of his brothers, and I saw all of these great things that he had been a part of in history. The thing that struck me the most was there was a framed letter that was handwritten by Senator Trent Lott that was right by the door. And so every time that Senator Kennedy walked out of his office, he could see this signed handwritten letter on Senate stationery from the former majority leader, Trent Lott. I thought that was a little bit odd, because they're two major players in the Senate, but from different parties. And so I read the letter. I thought, if he didn't want it to be read, he wouldn't have framed it, right? So I read the letter, and I was struck at the deep personal friendship that the two men had. And it really did make an impression on me. And that's the way that it should be. And that is the way that it should be. One of these things tonight is not like the other, right? I am the lone Republican speaking. But whether it's Governor Nye, or whether it's Attorney General Edmondson, or whether it's Governor Askins, we're all Oklahomans, and we are friends. We're friends behind the scenes. Now, sometimes we do our dog and pony show, and sometimes we take a partisan bit, but I can tell you the people that I serve with, I have tremendous respect for, whether they're Republicans or whether they're Democrats, because they're Oklahomans and they're public servants, and they are working to try to make a difference. I believe that it was Jefferson that's credited mostly. There's others that get credit for saying this also, but I believe it's Jefferson that gets the credit mostly for saying the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. If we are meant to be our own governors, how do we do that? We do that by being informed, by learning about the process, by having knowledge, by being educated, by reading the newspapers, by learning what's going on, and then getting involved. Thank you for getting involved. Thank you for being vigilant. You are our future, and I'm glad for it. Thank you.